at page 101 of the book.
কিতাপখন দিয়ক
এখন কিতাপ আছে, এখন আছে নে?
আছে The instant writ petition has been filed challenging the notice dated 4/8/2023 issued by the circle officer Sidley Revenue Circle, whereby the petitioners along with the other notices NOTICEE were informed that they should shift from the encroached inverted comma protected tribal belt and block inverted comma area within 15 days, or else action will be taken as per law. Taking into account the issue involved, this court proposes to dispose of the instant writ petition at the motion stage itself. Mr. Chaudhary, please take this. The facts enumerated in the writ petition are that the petitioners have been residing in their lands since ages, and all of a sudden the impugned notice was issued on 4/8/2023. Mr. K.N. Chaudhary, the learned senior counsel, has drawn the attention of this court to the order passed by the division bench dated 9/12/2019 in PIL 78/2012, whereby the division bench of this court issued various directions, including that the deputy commissioners of Bongaigaon, Kamrup Metro, Morigaon, Punitpur, and Tejpur have been entrusted with the responsibility under the policy adopted by the government state of Assam, and accordingly were directed to take necessary action as required by law against the encroachment and file their personal affidavits verifying the action taken in regard to removing illegal encroachment from tribal areas. In the similar vein, directions were also issued to the Principal Secretary of Bodoland Territorial Council area, namely Kokrajhar, Sirang, Baksa, and Udalguri, to file their personal affidavit with regard to the action taken for removal of illegal encroachment from the said areas. The learned senior counsel further submitted that it is on account of the directions so passed by the division bench of this court that the impugned notice have been issued. The learned counsel further submitted that the respondent authorities have not taken into consideration the order passed by the Supreme Court dated 3/2/2020, which is an order passed on a special petition being SLP, a special leave to appeal bracket CD number 2121/2020 against the said order dated 9/12/2019 passed in PIL number 78/2012. The learned senior counsel further drawing the attention of this court submitted that it has been observed by the Supreme Court that the deputy commissioners must examine the claim of each occupant on case-to-case basis, and after recording satisfaction in the light of the evidence produced before him, is required to pass appropriate orders as per law. The learned counsel further submitted that even any adversarial orders are passed, the same is also required to be informed by the deputy commissioner by giving a reasonable opportunity to the occupants to take recourse to the appropriate remedy as is permissible in law. The learned counsel therefore submits that the issuance of the impugned notice has created an apprehension in the mind of the petitioners that they would be evicted from their respective possession of their lands without adherence to the observations of the Supreme Court in the order dated 3/2/2020. Mr. Arbor Pujari, the learned counsel appearing on behalf of the respondent numbers 1, 6, 7, and 8 submits that a perusal of the impugned notice dated 4/8/2023 shows that the circle officer Sidley Revenue Circle had directed the petitioners to vacate the land, or else action would be taken as per law, meaning thereby that the order passed by the Supreme Court dated 3/2/2020 would be adhered to. Order no, the observations passed by the Supreme Court dated 3/2/2020 shall be adhered to. Mr. B. Chaudhary, appearing on behalf of the respondent number 3, 4, and 5, had also submitted in the similar vein as was submitted by Mr. R. Borpujari, the learned counsel for the Revenue Department. Ardor is not there. Upon hearing the learned counsel, this court have duly perused the materials on record as well as the order passed by the Supreme Court dated 3/2/2020, taking into account the relevance. The relevant portion of the said order passed by the Supreme Court is reproduced hereunder. 141 of the this apprehension of in our opinion is misplaced of i.e. uninfluenced by the observations by the High Court in the impugned judgment. From the above quoted observations of the Supreme Court, it transpires that the directions so passed by the division bench of this court dated 9/12/2019, thereby directing the deputy commissioners to proceed against the unauthorized occupants in accordance with law, have been understood to mean that the deputy commissioner must examine the claim of each occupant on case-to-case basis, and after recording satisfaction in the light of the evidence produced before him, should proceed to pass orders as per law. It was further observed by the Supreme Court that if the order is adverse to the occupants, the deputy commissioner must give reasonable time to the occupants to take recourse to the appropriate remedy as may be permissible in law. And the deputy commissioners were also directed not to decide the proceedings uninfluenced by the observations so made by the division bench of this court in the order dated 9/12/2019. This court had put a specific query upon the learned counsels appearing on behalf of the BTC, as well as upon Mr. Specific query upon Mr. R. Borpujari, as well as Mr. B. Chaudhary, the learned counsels appearing on behalf of the respondents. This court also finds it relevant at this stage to observe the submission of Mr. R. Borpujari to the effect that, taking into account the observations so made by the Supreme Court, the petitioners may be directed by this court, if so advised, to submit their documents regarding their claim by 31st of August 2023 before the Deputy Commissioner Sirang, that is the respondent number 6, and the Deputy Commissioner Sirang shall adjudicate the said their claims on case-to-case basis and thereupon pass appropriate orders in that regard. Taking into account the above, this court disposes of this court therefore disposes of the instant writ petition, thereby granting liberty to the petitioners herein, as well as the other notices of the impugned order dated 4/8/2023 to submit the relevant documents on which they rest, to submit the relevant documents pertaining to their claim over the land in their possession before the Deputy Commissioner Sirang, that is the respondent number 6, by 4 p.m. of 31/8/2023. The Deputy Commissioner Sirang thereupon shall adjudicate the claims, shall examine the claims of each of the persons, of each of the petitioners, as well as the other notices who has submitted their claims, and only upon recording satisfaction that the petitioners have no right to remain in petitioners or the notices have no right to remain in possession of the lands in question shall pass appropriate orders thereupon. This court further finds it also relevant to observe and direct that the respondent number 6 shall also, upon passing of the orders, duly communicate the same to the petitioners. How?
Once they report a will record their address.
No. They will do that. They know, but how? Whether they don't receive then shall. To the petitioners as well as the notices of the impugned notice dated 4/8/2023 and further grant them reasonable time of appeal against this. Appeal is permissible.
No, I think they
Read.
appeal. I say Board of Revenue getting like
To approach the appropriate forum,
yes, a reasonable time matter.
30 days. 30 days, I think one has to be
Yes,
because the
good enough,
reasonableness,
good
30 days. And thereby grant further 30 days time to the occupants, to the petitioners as well as the notices of the so-and-so, of the impugned notice. If any adversarial orders are passed, to take recourse to the remedies as available under law.
Find the individual and of the
Yes,
representative. That will be accompanied by a copy of the benefit. Because they will be named the individual case for the deputy copy.
I have said about the notices. All the notices will be there only. I'm not saying anybody else.
No.
The petitioners as well as the notices. The petitioners, all petitioners are here. The notices
Only
are, but
13
there are
petitioners.
some others.
They will find their respective maybe the proper effect that whatever it is. That may be accompanied by a copy of
Why?
that will be the
Okay. Itu line lekho, please.
It's okay.
Taking into account, now, Mr. K. N. Chaudhary, the learned senior counsel, further submitted that 15 days time so allotted would expire by 19th. And as such, this court may direct the deputy, may make necessary observations in that regard. Taking into account the above, this court, therefore, directs Mr. R. Borpuzari, the learned counsel appearing on behalf of the respondent number 1, 6, 7, and 8, to apprise these authorities that this court has today passed an order giving the liberty to the notices of the impugned notice to file their respective claims by 31st of August 2023 by 4 p.m. as well as the direction so passed.
Deep level.
Why do you need? You want a certified copy? Enough. Why do you need that small? There are other people who are not there. Be reasonable.
one other
One thing good about that order is there's something handle now is being given to this Rule 18. Now, this I will help you. Mr. Chaudhary, kindly do something as regards Rule 18. You see, what has happened, I've been telling everybody. Rule 18 earlier to 1997
7 amendment.
only had 3 categories of land. Then comes Radha Kanun saying, okay, then they amend Rule 18 And once Rule 18 has been amended, even your land, you want to throw Mr. Chaudhary, who is there in occupation of his land, you can approach him and throw him out.
Get a notice issue.
It's a very serious, or it's an executive power which is very
The timing by which the deputy commissioner will decide the investigation. Or the time limit of 2 months will suffice. Because if it kept my lord pending, my lord,
whose loss? It is not his loss.
Hmm.
And if you can't control your people, why should I fix? Now tell me, give me a good reason. Why should this court fix? Are you saying that you have some serious doubts about your own deputy commissioner? Then I have not said anything. Why is it necessary? I have given, you may dispose of next day also.
In 7 days also, 10 days also.
That is your lookout.
Deep problem.
okay,
Production list item number 1 for withdrawal.
Mr. Chaudhary, this direction of giving certified copy along with the
Yes. We'll do that.
the petitioners as well as the notices. No, why I didn't want to put it, because the notices are not here. That is why I didn't want to. So any of the petitioners to the writ petition is given the liberty to is directed to serve any of the petitioners to the instant writ petition is shall submit a copy of the certified copy of this order to the Deputy Commissioner Sirang for due compliance.
Deep problem.
my lord order be the basis of their laying the tree. Therefore, my respect to the
No, but what happens tomorrow? Your people will reject as those are not there in the petition. How can the non-petitioner will get a certified copy? So one order is there. If you have 10 posts of deputy commissioner, it's a different thing.